Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have another interesting episode for you guys that you definitely don't want to miss, so make sure you go and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, we all know that Nick Wright is probably one of the biggest trolls in sports media. I've said this on numerous occasions. Some people feel the type of way, but that's exactly how I feel. I feel like a lot of the stuff that he says, I think this guy's just saying it for TV. I don't think he believes half of the stuff that he's saying. And if he does believe half of the stuff that he's saying, then I think it's really scary. Nick Wright is the only guy that I know that says that that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan, but is yet to produce one single shred of evidence to support that notion that makes any sense. That's something that is actually based in reality. A lot of the arguments that he makes is based on things that never happened. He will bring up LeBron's numbers in series where he lost and say, well, you know, there's a Nick. Even at one point, Chris Broussard said, but Nick, he lost. What are you doing? Why are you saying this? So Nick Wright, nevertheless, he still tries every single day. And there's a good amount of people that tune into the Nick Wright church and follow him. They love that sermon, right? A lot of people love that, and they think that whenever this guy speaks, he's saying something profound because he can quote a bunch of statistics. So, you know, that's Nick Wright for you. But over the last few days or weeks or so, first things first has been bringing on Rick Bucher. And whenever the segment starts with Rick Bucher, whenever he's on, they're usually talking about NBA. And whenever that segment starts, Nick Wright you start to see him get a little bit flustered because he knows that Rick Bucher is going to push back on a lot of the things that he says on air, and he doesn't like that. And usually what ends up happening is Rick Bucher usually is laughing at him. He's very calm. Nick Wright usually gets flustered. He gets in his feelings. Sometimes his voice starts cracking, and he looks like he's about to break into a ball of tears. And that's exactly what happened yesterday, because during the segment they were talking about LeBron James and the Lakers, and Rick Bucher made a very strong statement that damn near brought Nick Wright to tears once again. So for those of you who missed that segment, I want you guys to take a listen to some of basically the exchange between Rick Bucher and Nick Wright, and you could basically hear where Nick Wright was starting to get flustered and he sounded like he was about to start crying. So take a listen to that. We're going to come back and unpack that for you. So take a listen to that there.
I will give them a puncher's chance to get out of the play-in tournament, but that's about as far as it goes. And not to open up a can of worms or create a tier of top 10 players, but I'm not sure that the Lakers have a top 10 player, and certainly I'm not putting Anthony Davis in that category at this point. You're talking about the Lakers last year being up on the Phoenix Suns. That was last year's Lakers, and that was last year's Suns. There is no comparison to the Phoenix Suns now
we have to dive into
or
what
the
Rick
Los
just
Angeles Lakers now.
Wait a minute. We got to stop, because I was about to say something I don't think I've ever said on this show, which is I totally agree with Rick Bucher, which is it's going to be I would pick them to get out of the play-in, but it's far from a guarantee, and I would give them no shot to beat Phoenix 4 out of 7. Did you just say there's an argument the Lakers don't have a single top 10 player? Did you say that?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did not. In the words of Chris Broussard, I did not stutter.
See, so Rick, and I say this, and I love having you on the show.
LeBron is not top 10,
Hold on, wait. I got this first. This is why folks might assume or even throw your way that you have some, what's the word? Anti-LeBron derangement syndrome. That's the word. Because if you are trying to make the argument that I'm just curious, you've covered the league a long time. Yes.
Let's
just assume LeBron wins the scoring title. How many scoring champs in your career covering the league were not top 10 players?
Well,
can you think of any others?
We're assuming. We're assuming that.
He's right now he's winning the scoring title. Right now he is. So I'm just curious. Is it a long list of guys who've won the scoring title are not top 10 players, especially guys who are one of 2 players in the league averaging 27, 7, and 7, he and Giannis. Giannis, I assume you have Giannis in the top 10. Tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe not. Maybe Big Bam Adebayo guy, but assuming Giannis top 10. So would LeBron be the first guy in your career covering the league to win a scoring title while not a top 10 player? Because it's a fascinating take.
Yeah, you know what? He might be, because I'm trying to think of the guys that have won a scoring title that have been on teams this bad, that have won a scoring title and it has no effect on their team's actually winning games.
I'll let you, because I'm so irritated with Rick. You've done nothing here. But let me just, I guess there needs to be balance in the universe, and a lot of people's top 10s have 16 players in them. I would like for Rick Bucher to go pen to paper on 10 names. Because if LeBron's not in his top 10, I think Bucher's top 10's got 4 guys. I think it's Giannis, Durant, Jokic, Embiid, and that's your top 10. Because is Harden a top 10 guy? Is Dame a top 10 guy?
You know what?
Who are the top 10 guys that are doing more than LeBron? I'd like to know the list.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of a guy we saw last night, and when he was in Minnesota, and his numbers were meteoric. They were monstrous. And people would talk about Kevin Love as a top 10 player.
Oh, my God.
You remember that.
Guys,
Kevin Love was talked about as a top 10 player because of his statistics. It didn't translate to winning. He was never a top 10 player in my estimation. No, I'm comparing how we're basing what a top 10 player is. We're basing it on statistics.
I'd like to know the 10 names.
Rather than effect on the game.
I understand what Rick Bucher is saying. I get what he's saying about LeBron. He isn't saying that LeBron James isn't a good basketball player. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is, at this stage in LeBron's career, he isn't good enough to impact winning on a consistent basis. That is an absolute fact. That is not a slight. That is not hate. That is the pure reality. Just go look at the Lakers' record. If you need the proof, it's in the pudding. Go look at the record. They are about 10 or 11 games below 500. That means that's not a winning ball club. And if LeBron is playing as great as he is, and somehow this team is still struggling to even be a 500 basketball team, then what Rick Bucher is saying is the truth, that those numbers are not translating or not having a big enough impact on winning is exactly what he said at the end. But Nick Wright brought up a point. He said, well, name these 10 players that are better than LeBron James. Name these 10 players. I can name 10 players for you right now that are playing great, and their numbers and their play is contributing to all of these teams being playoff teams and winning teams. Let me give you the list. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant is a unique situation because he's always injured, but if KD's healthy and he's playing, we all know that the Brooklyn Nets are a good team. So this is not a question. Nobody's going to say, well, are the Brooklyn Nets, would they be a 8th seed if Kevin Durant was playing all the games? No one would say that. So you have Kevin Durant, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Of course, you have Joel Embiid. You have Jason Tatum with the Boston Celtics. Go look at their record. You have Devin Booker with the Phoenix Suns. They're doing very well. They're one of the top seeds. I think they're the top seed in the Western Conference, and they have the best record in the NBA. Enough said. You have John Morant with the Memphis Grizzlies. They're a playoff team. His play is contributing to wins. Obviously, you have Stephen Curry, the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. Enough said. You have Luka. Of course, I think the Dallas Mavericks are the 5th seed in the Western Conference. You have Nikola Jokic. All of these players are on teams that have better records than the Lakers. Period. End of story. And some of these players are doing with the full complement of all their players, and some of these players are not. Devin Booker is doing without Chris Paul. Nikola Jokic is doing it without Jamal Murray. And you have other players that are not doing it with a healthy roster. So all of these players have a bigger impact on winning. So I think what what Rick Bucher is talking about is about players that have a bigger impact on winning. And to be honest with you, I never thought about it that way. I never thought about it from that standpoint. He makes a very good point when he talks about who are the best players. And these players, if these guys are truly the best players, it should translate into wins. And if it's not translating into wins, then they're not really the best players. And he brought up the point with Kevin Love. And listen, I know what he meant, but I also know how it was going to come off. When you say LeBron is not a top 10 NBA player, I know exactly how that comes off. But I didn't see any lies that he told if we're looking at the evidence and the facts. So that's why Rick Bucher said, what is your metric for judging the best player? Does the best player not need to be able to contribute to winning? And if you're going to use the excuse of health, then there's so many teams in the NBA that have not had great teams. And if you're going to use that metric, then you could pretty much say, what, Reggie Jackson has been better than LeBron this season, if that's what you're going to use, because they haven't had Kawhi or Paul George basically all year. So you wouldn't say that. So he's right. actually. Rick Bucher's right. So what I want to know from you guys, but I do know how it came off. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about the exchange, number one? Number two, what do you think about Rick Bucher said? What do you think about some of the things that I said? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section.